coverage. 4th and 3. Game on the line. Williams lofting one for a doozy. He caught it!
Kamara in at tailback. He's got 5 rushing touchdowns. And now 6. Tied for the most all time.
You're listening to the world's #1 football podcast. Now, with more insights on all things football, here are your hosts, Ben Hansen, Matt Hartman, and Ryan Matthews.
How we doing, folks? After 2 or 3 good weeks of an operational camera, it has decided to not operate this week. But before we get into all that, Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Ben. I'm excited because we get 2 positions this week. We don't just get one for scouting. Limited news brings this upon us, and of course a time crunch of getting all the guys, scouted before the draft happens. But no, I'm super excited. How are you, buddy, down in Bloomington?
I'm doing splendid. You're 3 weeks, basically 3 weeks out from the draft at this point. Can't complain. With that being said, there's a nasty old storm that's just about to blow through here. It just started now. Should last about an hour, so there's a chance that I just leave. There's a chance my power just cuts out and I get disconnected. Hopefully that is not the case, but that is the case. I apologize. But yeah, let's jump right into the news. For the first time in a little bit, we actually have 2 college headlines coming out, both regarding head coaching hire/extensions. The first one, the more important one, hence the title. Deion Sanders signed a 5-year extension to stay in Boulder, $56 million over 5 years. He'll be making $10 million, and then the 2 following years he'll be making $11 million, and then the 2 final years of that contract he will be making $12 million. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Deion had to be compensated like this because, again, he is a personality who was he quoted to be very interested in the Dallas Cowboys job. I don't believe it personally. I think it was a leverage play by both sides. Jerry gets the headline of interviewing Deion. Deion gets the headline of now getting this contract from Colorado to stay. But the only thing for me is, I know it's bad and I shouldn't think like this, but it just means the buyouts even more for when someone comes a calling for Deion, because I don't think that guy's going to be able to help himself when one of these bigger jobs comes open. I don't know about you, but long haul for Colorado does not seem like something Deion's going to sign up for me.
Yeah, that was the big thing. Again, we'll see how Florida State puts together the next couple of years under Mike Norvell. But, I've said it since the moment he had gotten hired at Jacksonville State, that I would be really, really shocked if that job at Florida State doesn't open up and he isn't the #1 candidate for that job. And again, who knows, maybe Florida State has a bounce back year like they did 2 years ago now at this point. But yeah, that makes that buyout that much more expensive if he does want to go to Florida State. But yeah, again, he's a very big personality and seems to be a very good coach. This will be kind of his first year without his sons, quote unquote, lumping Travis Hunter into that. So we'll see how he builds a program without those guys. But yeah, I thought it was a good hire and biggest contract ever given out to a Big 12 coach, and well deserved. That being said, Andrew Luck had taken over the general manager position at Stanford for their football team, which is now is I guess a common theme. I guess Curry's doing it at Davidson, Trae Young is doing it for the basketball at Oklahoma, which I wonder what that entails. But Andrew Luck had taken over the general manager position there and pretty much immediately fired their standing head coach, and now Frank Wright is their interim head coach, at least for what it seems to be this year. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so This felt like a real deal, like power play by Andrew Luck. So Troy Taylor, the former Stanford head coach, he like the wording is multiple mistreated female staffers. Like, so multiple accusations of this and investigations about this. So Andrew Luck comes in. He was hired as the Stanford general manager, as you mentioned a few months ago, and he was pretty open in this little, like, how do you say, statement about it. Just after continued consideration, it is evident to me that our program needs a reset. And so he brought in the guy he knows best, his coach with the Indianapolis Colts, and Frank Reich. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting because it shows me, like, they're committing to the brand Stanford. You're not really committing to the coach Frank Reich unless this is a resounding success in the ACC, which I don't know. Like, they're 6-18 in the last 2 years. They just transferred pretty much conferences to the ACC, and they didn't have a successful season. So it's fascinating, man, because you rarely see a team have to make this switch so close to, spring workouts and things like that. And so we're gonna find out together, like, what kids are going to commit to Stanford because they're committing to Andrew Luck and the general manager and the brand over, the coach. Like, I think that's the era of the NIL for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's tough. But what kid, especially at the quarterback position, can turn down a conversation with Andrew Luck? I mean, widely regarded as the best prospect, in the last 25 years. It'll be interesting to see if he performs well enough to keep that job, and then what that bar is. Because, like you said, they have not seen much success. So does it only take, let's say, a 5-win season for them to be like, hey, Frank, you got us the most wins we've had the last 3 years. Might as well keep him and see what he can build. So, it'll be interesting to see where that leads us and goes. And then the owners meeting was this past weekend. The two big things that came out from that was the touchback was officially moved up to the 35. That was something we talked a little bit about in last week's pod. And then the tush push will not officially be voted on, or was not officially voted on. They're going to wait until May. And as an outside fan looking in, I really think it's because they thought that if they voted on it now, they were not going to get the 18. I think it's 18 that you have to get to pass, something like that. Or 28, I think. Sorry, but they weren't going to get the number of votes that they needed to pass, so they pushed it back to give them more time to try to convince more teams to agree upon that, which kind of sucks, because when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, tush push is back, and then they're like, no, they're just moving it until May. So, it is what it is. And then the other thing too that came out, with Jerry Jones, he just needs to stop talking to the media, and it's something that you have said numerous times. Jerry likes to put on the show, and I think that's most likely what it was. But Jerry Jones was talked about, or was asked a question about contract negotiations with Micah Parsons, and basically said, well, we're not involving his agent. This is between me, the owner, and the players, and that's what makes the team. There's no need for the agent to be involved. And then, Micah fired some tweets out saying, like, well, there's no shot. I'm not going to even talk to you about this without my agent. Really, the takeaway from that is Jerry's just Jerry. He's just being old, senile, and trying to get the clicks. But did you have any takeaways from that little, argument, I guess?
No, I didn't, because, like, again, I just throw my hands up in the air with Jerry Jones, because it's just like, we're going to go through the July process, we're going to go through the training camp, and we're going to get Micah holding out and blah, blah, blah. And then it's going to be Labor Day weekend, the week before football, and Micah Parsons is signing the biggest non-quarterback deal in all of football. Like, this is just how it goes. I mean, he did it with Zeke in Cabo. He did it with CD and Dak just this past season. So, clearly, it's everybody's rumbling about him. Like, it's Dallas Cowboys the brand, and I truly believe that. I'm sorry for Cowboys fans, and I'm a Saints fan, so it's like I shouldn't be saying this, but I think they've given up the delusion of hope, because I think we're finally at the point where Jerry does not desire championships anymore, and that sucks to have, like, that, desire to leave. But Jerry Jones is about the brand, and he's about the spectacle of it. And I don't think he really cares about the on-field success, because no matter what, the Dallas Cowboys are going up in revenue, and they're making a ton of money. So I really, like, it doesn't matter if this team wins 5 games or 13. Everybody's still going to talk about him, and everyone's still going to care about what he has to say. And so, I mean, he's at a point where he's gotten to there, and he's won the championships, and he's in the Hall of Fame already. So what does it mean to him?
Yeah, the more clicks, the more views he can bring in on the Dallas Cowboys, the better it's going to look like for him. And I think that is the mindset that he's going to have. So with that being said, yeah, there was not a whole lot of weekly news this week. That's about it. I'd imagine the same for next week. Was there anything you wanted to say?
No, I'm just ready to get into this.
No, you are all good. If you guys were not able to tell, for our video listeners, based off of Matt's little name underneath his name, his little title, we will first start out with our D tackle rankings. And since it is a 2-for-1 kind of episode, I did not do a full 10. I did 8, and then just 2 more guys that didn't get fully scouted, but I think was worth talking about. Well, one guy got fully scouted. The other was, I think, just worth a mention. And I guess we'll start with that guy. That is one Deion Walker from the University of Kentucky. And he is quite the strange case. Going into the year, everyone had him like in the top 15 at the least, if not significantly higher. Again, he does not get an official ranking for me because I just don't know where to slot this guy at. I'm wondering how much of his loss of production this year was because of an injury. He had a back injury, and it was a pretty significant back injury, but he still played through it. But also, he's just a weird body type. Massive. He's like 6'7", and all of that is like the waist up. And hope
I think Ben might be cutting out. It's getting a little. The storm is coming in. And not really, buddy. No, but I'll go over Deion Walker just for a minute. We'll let Ben try and figure this out. But overall, Deion Walker, I think what Ben is trying to say is that going into the season, based on his sophomore year, Deion Walker was only ascending. I think he was in most top 20s. He was in my top 25 of players. He's a ginormous human being. He has the size, the frame, the length. He is 6'7", truly 6'7", and there are only 4 players, according to Mock Draftable, since 1999, there's only 4 defensive tackles who were taller than him, and one of them is Calais Campbell. Like the pros, he's physically overwhelming to deal with how big he is. 6'7", 340, monster hands, 34-inch arms, I think. He's truly insane, and he has the true footwork, and it makes him you've seen this quote, a dancing bear at times, and he can be in the right spot and just make explosives in the backfield, both sacks and run stops. But the cons with me, like, I'm totally with Ben here, where I don't have him ranked because I like to put myself in the GM shoes when I'm doing this, and Deion Walker certainly would not be on my board, personally. Like, I just don't think the value will meet for a guy like Deion Walker that I wouldn't want to take that risk. And the cons were pretty simple. He had great ascending production sophomore year, 50-plus pressures, 29 run stops. Then this season as a true junior, had worse production than his freshman year. And less pressures, less run stops, worse missed tackle rate. And all of that gets, thrown out. And it's like, oh, well, he had this back injury. He had this fractured back injury. He has a 3.75 raw athletic score, or RAS, which is boosted to elite. Like, he has elite size, so his size and overall, like, weight and height boost that number even from a 3.75. And other little things, he went to the All-Star event, he went to the Senior Bowl, didn't show out, I should say. He showed up, but he didn't show out in a way that a top 20 player does. And overall technique issues all over the tape. Like, the pad level is uncomfortably high for me. Like, because you are huge, you need to figure that out. He doesn't have a plan that if it doesn't result in going right through you, then it doesn't work. He just doesn't get to the passer. And then the hand fighting outside of house consistency issue for me. But yeah, man, Deion Walker, not ranked for me, but I assume that was all what you were going to say, Ben. I think you're back.
Yes, yeah, I switched over to hotspot, so hopefully that fixes the issue here. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you said everything that I would have said. Just very oddly built. Didn't really know how to use that size. Again, technique issues. Got washed out of plays way more than what you would like for a guy as big as he is. And then again, you touched on that production just absolutely dropping. That being said, if I would not be shocked if he went to the right team in like round 4 per se, and it developed into an actual good player. That's kind of where I'm at with him. And then the other guy I thought was worth talking about outside of my ranked guys is one Tonka Hemingway. First off, an elite football name. It does not get better than the name Tonka Hemingway. I absolutely loved him. I've found his tape just such a joy to watch. And I didn't really even know who he was before watching another guy that I have on this list and another guy I have on the other list we're going through today. But, man, he is fun. He's an athletic 3-tech. He's going to be, as Matt's name kind of indicates, he's going to be a nice 3-tech penetrator. He's athletic. He's long. He's very active and has strong punches. Really knows how to use his bull rush to get underneath people's pads. Sometimes doesn't always convert those pressures into sacks, but gets there. And then when he doesn't get there, he does a good job of getting his hands up and getting the pass deflections. And that is a big, big plus for me. Really, the areas of concern for me is he's a bit light in the pants. He's only 284 pounds. He's on the older end of prospects, but is not the oldest guy that we will be talking about today in the defensive tackle group, let alone the linebacker group. But he's 24 years old. He struggles shedding blocks in the run game when an offensive lineman can actually get their hands in his pads. And like I said, just due to his size, I think he is strictly only a 3-tech 1-gapper. You're never going to ask him to play the A-gap. I think you could probably kick him outside to be a 3-4 defensive tackle. But there you're kind of blurring some lines because I don't know if he has the bend to do that. But I think he's going to be a very fun off-speed kind of pitch defensive tackle. Someone I comped him to was Mario Ajamo, and that's what his game reminded me so heavy of while watching him. And again, he was just a treat to watch. If you guys haven't watched him, go out and even just look up his highlights. He's a whole lot of fun.
That's awesome. You were here for Tonka Hemingway before he's a superstar. All right, Ben was on it first.
Calling my shot. Do you just want to run through like your 13-5, just like really quickly, or your 13-8? I get 13-9, then we'll start at 8.
Yeah, I hope that we don't like cross paths too much early, but number 12, Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee. He's a fun thought experiment because like what if you added 45 to 50 pounds to James Pierce? You get it. Like that's kind of what it is. The size, the frame, all with twitch and athletic quickness. The get off and the acceleration is his calling card. Gets quick penetration due to this. Could see him in a looper, in a stunt roll kind of thing. He doesn't anchor well for like the cons. He doesn't anchor well for a sub 300-pound guy. Like he's not going to be for everyone. Will get overmatched in the run game due to the lower body strength concerns and gets easily swallowed out of plays. And then the last thing, like he's a weird older rotational player at Tennessee. He just turned 23. He averaged 17 snaps a game this past season in 2024. Had a 5-year true college career and finished with less than 1,000 total snaps. Just a one of a kind player. But man, just like Hemingway, you talked about, like there is a fun twitch and athletic ability off the ball that I was like, all right, if we can find a place, I can see it. And I think he probably falls into the same place as like Deion Walker for me, where I have Deion Walker off my board because I just can't get there. Some people are going to have Norman Lott the same way, and I would completely understand. 11. Did you have Norman Lott?
Really quickly, yeah. I actually had Omar Norman Lott all the way up at 7. If you weren't able to tell based off of me liking Tonka Hemingway and now me having Omar Norman Lott at 7, I do have a type. Again, you said it. I think he's going to be a very good pass rushing, again, that off-speed defensive tackle that's going to come in on third downs and be a very good pass rusher. Again, I think he has a very quick get-off, that strong motor. I think he has stronger hands than what people want to give him credit for. Like you said, he's quick.
The hands were good, but the technique was awkward.
He likes to fire out wide a lot, which I didn't like. Again, he fired his hands out like way too wide, almost at the shoulder pads rather than the chest.
Yeah.
He does have a deep bag of pass rushing moves. He showed a very good spin move, a cross chop, the dip and rip. And for a guy his size, I thought he had really good contact balance. And then kind of the last positive I have for him is he kind of plays with his hair on fire. He's just a crazy maniac. That being said, the first con I have for him is he plays with his hair on fire like a crazy maniac. At times it can turn out very, very well for him. And then there are times where it just is absolutely miserable. And then, as you said, I think he's smaller. He lacks a lot of those rundown snaps, which has a lot to say about his ability to actually do that. And then again, just bad technique, both in the hands and feet. So we're in agreement on there, but I think I might value a little bit more of that pass rushing upside he offers than you.
Yeah, no, I another thing with him was he was a fun watch as a pass rusher because like the way he created the way I tried to sum up, he creates multiple like ways of entry to the quarterback. Like the way he sets up as a D tackle rather than in like because he has the bendiness of an edge, I believe, that like he can bend around through that B gap between the tackle and the guard or go kind of inside to the center in like a stunt fashion. So he was a fascinating watch in the way he got to the quarterback, and it made me think that like, is there a conditioning problem playing 17 snaps? Is it just a Tennessee thing that like we just have to throw it out? Which I'm completely at that point with it, where Tennessee stuff is just you throw it out, like get the good players there and they'll figure it out. But yeah, man, he's a fascinating player. I did not expect you to have him that high. That's awesome. But 11, I have Jamari Caldwell out of Oregon. This one is kind of like I don't want to say like hotter take, but I don't think a lot of people have him up this high. I think he's going to be a guy that goes into the third round-ish something like that. Just think Colin Saunders with the Saints, because that's what he is. He is a super athletic, stumpy player. That is the way I can put. He flashes the point of attack power in the pass game with his bull rush. The short and stumpy stature gives him the leverage in the pad level battle, and he consistently will get into and under you. He will get into you in a real way, and has that motor to get to the quarterback. The cons, I mean, limited length and height, just like Colin Saunders. He's not an disciplined or an intelligent defender as of now, which is a problem because he's an older player, so you would want him to have that kind of in his arsenal already. He'll negate gaps in the run game, leading to explosive potential conditioning problem. Big man, carries a lot of possible bad weight mixed with a history of lower body injuries. But overall, I think there's a world where, someone admires his skill set and just wants him on the field. So 11, Jamari Caldwell out of Oregon. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah. He was a guy I did not have on my list, which is good. I'm scared that you're just gonna name off of my top 8 to 4, and you just rattle them all off at that point. But yeah, you can keep going.
Number 10, I have Jordan Phillips out of Maryland. He was easy. He's young and he's extremely talented. Point of attack strength in the run game, has real knockback to it. He can be in control with multiple blockers as he's moving downhill into the run lanes. Good discipline in the run game, doesn't get comboed out of blocks too often, has the natural feel of moving his eyes and hands to where the ball is going to take him. He has the quickness and athleticism to frame out his body and become a productive pass rusher at the next level. And he's got some moves, flashes a swim move and a very fun spin move when you first notice it and watch him do it. It's hilarious to watch a 300-pound man try and spin away from a guard. The cons, very short arms. So it's not quite Kalijah Cansey sub 31-inch arms, but 31 and 1/2 inch arms is kind of pushing it to the closest part you can be for him. The get off needs tooling. He's a very wide stance holder at the line of scrimmage, and it limits his get off for me. You can see if you get tighter, you'll explode better, much better. He'll figure it out. Leg drive affects the bull rush, needs to be ironed out long term. Shed timing and choosing his opportunities will need to get better in the run game. And the same thing, in college, you and I had the same amount of sacks as Jordan Phillips did at Maryland. So again, it's the production issue is, I have it in here, not ideal, ! So yeah, you would love to have a guy have more sacks, but that's 10 for me. Let's see if we have the same 9 player here. Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M. I have him, his pros, long, rangy, explosive one-gapper. Explosion and acceleration off the ball is his calling card. Strong in the hands, shows it off in the run game when he creates extension with his frame, just getting off the ball. Flashes go-to moves with the swim and the hump move being the most prolific. Cons, his hand technique, they may be strong, but most of the time doesn't know what he's doing, the plan stuff. He'll get swallowed up in the run game due to poor pad level too often. Leg drive on the bull rush is concerning for how much bigger he got and at A&M, and his explosion as an athlete off the ball. You want to show more in the legs. And then so he's a weird player. So I have this in my cons, but I kind of just wanted it as a write-up to show up. Production overall in 24 was lackluster. He mustered up 21 total pressures and 19 run stops per PFF, but again, put on weight to fit the scheme as a 3-tech with Stewart and Scorton out on the edge. This is what was most fascinating to me. So his snap splits. In 2022, he had 257 snaps outside the tackle's shoulder. So as a pure edge, Shamar Turner in 2022, 250 plus snaps as a pure edge. 2023 had 261. In 2024, he had 12. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they just believed they could put him inside as a 3-tech, and it would just figure out. But, like, he is a very raw defensive tackle, where the edge stuff, the one-gapping stuff, I am intrigued by, and I can get into the top 80 picks with him. Where the D-tackle stuff, I think it's still a major work in progress, and I just wonder what he is going to do, because you look at Scorton, and we talked about Stewart last week. Both of those guys lost a good amount of weight going into the combine. Scorton didn't do anything, but he lost about like 20-something pounds, 25 pounds going into like sub 260 after playing at over 280. Turner, his playing weight seems to be 300. At the combine, he weighed 290. So I don't know if there's a real, like, I'm going to be a D-tackle kind of thing with him where he wants to be that, but I don't know, man. He's an interesting player. All these A&M, like, D-lineman guys, you want to gamble on the athlete because I think the athlete's in there, but overall, it's tough. Did you have Turner ranked?
I did not. So I only did the top 8. That being said, I did watch plenty of Shamar Turner, watching Scorton and Stewart there. It's tough. For me, I think the size, obviously, it muddies up the water a little bit. But when you read those snap counts, it's exactly what I thought. He views, like, yes, he's a quote-unquote defensive tackle for me. For me, he's a very scheme-specific defensive tackle, and that is a 3-4 defensive tackle. Yeah. And I think unless you are a 3-4 team, you should not be drafting this guy because, again, I don't think he flashed enough stuff as a 4-3 defensive tackle, and I think he's too heavy at this point to be playing a 4-3 edge. But I think, again, that perfect spot for him is that 3-4 defensive tackle. And as you said, again, it just comes down to just being tantalized by these A&M guys. Their combination of speed, size, athleticism, strength, all three of them have it at this point. It's just a matter of one of them has to work at some point, right? And I wouldn't be shocked if it was Turner getting put in the right situation. So it sounds like you didn't have Desmond Watson ranked. I'm kidding. I had saw in a tweet about Desmond Watson. For those who aren't familiar, I'd be shocked if you're listening to this podcast and you don't know who he is. But that's Florida defensive tackle. He's like 425 pounds. And he ran like a 4 or a 5, like 6'9" or something. Like he ran like a crazy slow time. But then I saw like a sports scientist say the same amount of kinetic energy that went into him running that super slow time at 424 pounds is the same equivalent to a linebacker at 240 running a 3.340, which is crazy. I don't know if it's true. I don't know how they got that calculation.
That's awesome.
But that's absolutely monstrous. But yes, no, I like Shamar Turner. Desmond is going to be fun UDFA. He's going to be a tush-push stopper if we see the tush-push this year. That being said, I guess we can start out at 8 for me. That's going to be Darius Alexander. For this entire time, for some reason, I kept calling him Bear Alexander, and obviously I knew he wasn't Bear Alexander, but I just was so inclined to do it. So I'm glad I said Darius. He is the defensive tackle out of Toledo. Again, he's an older guy in this class. He's the oldest guy I have ranked on this list for the defensive tackle list. He's 25 years old. He's played 6 years at college now at this point. But he has very good size. He's 6'4", has 34-inch arms. And he does a good job setting out a wide base within his legs and just absolutely dominating and feasting at the line of scrimmage. It is hard to move this guy off of his spot, and he is just powerful, big, and just will not budge. And that power translates very well into a good bull rush move. Again, that being said, he's just old. He's an older guy. for the draft at the age of 24. And there was just a lot of inconsistencies in his game. And that's the best way I can describe his cons just in general. He has an inconsistent motor. There are times where he has the best motor on the field, and there are times where he looks like he doesn't even want to be out there. He's very inconsistent off the snap. There are some times where he is firing out right as that snap goes, quick, gets his first steps, establishes that contact. There are times where that ball is snapped and it takes him what feels to be like 5 seconds to get off that line of scrimmage. And then with the leverage as well, sometimes he seems to have a very good understanding of how to use his leverage at 6'4" and get underneath those pads, but quite often he did not at his size, and he got abused because he was a bigger defensive tackle, and these smaller guards and centers were really able to get underneath his pads and use their natural leverage. But again, I just think he is a defensive tackle that really understands how to use his size and power to dominate the line of scrimmage and has some semblance of a pass rush with his bull rush move.
I have Alexander at 7, just one spot over you. I completely agree. His calling card is length, frame, and power. The point of attack strength shows up in the run game for me. Has really active hands and one-on-ones in the run game. The bull rush, you mentioned it, has the bull rush power in the pass game. And I don't know if you noticed this at the Senior Bowl, he was flashing a nice swim move, something that like he was kind of showing off. And then last thing was great production. The last 2 years at Toledo, 83 pressures, 11 sacks, and 50 run stops, and he played over 1,300 snaps according to PFF. That's a guy who doesn't come off the field, and even if he's an older player, I mean, I think the defensive tackle, as I've done this more for certain positions, defensive tackle continues to be a floor position for me, where it's like I'm not really chasing the upside as, you know, a quarterback or a receiver because I'm not looking for an all-pro. I'm just looking for a starter, looking for a guy who's going to rotate in and out, and I think Darius Alexander provides all of that floor for me with his pros. His cons were pretty simple. Like, he wasn't explosive off the ball for what his athletic numbers say for me. Doesn't have a true counter plan when the first engagement doesn't go well. That kind of plays into your point earlier. The agility and foot skills weren't desirable, and the overall like the way he strides out, watching him in open space, he's a long strider, and then he'll overthink rushes and get caught up early and just swallowed up and dead rep, so. But yeah, Darius Alexander, he's a fascinating player because he is so old, and he kind of rose himself through the process. The Senior Bowl really kind of encapsulated a stock for him. I feel like once the Senior Bowl happened and he played or should just showed up as well as he did, I think it grew a lot of stock for him. So yeah, man, Darius Alexander without a doubt was one of the top 8 for me.
There you go. Who's your number 8? And might as well do your number 7 because.
Yeah, I have TJ Sanders at out of South Carolina at 8. The pros, pretty like he has explosive get off leading to quick penetration. Hand usage is a plus in terms of how violent and active that can be in the run game and even in the pass game when rushing the passer. The upper body power helped him in shed opportunities, and then flexible alignment due to like he has a well-sized stature, maybe not nose, but just kind of moving all around into different looks like 3-tech and things like that. The cons, not an overly agile or skilled mover as his get off might lead for me. It'll hurt his upside in stunt and slant tendency schemes, things like that. Pad level is inconsistent and will get swallowed up in doubles and down blocks, and lastly can get flat-footed at contact, and it'll get him to a halt, and it slows his speed to power off the line of scrimmage. But yeah, TJ Sanders at 8 for me.
Yes, I had TJ Sanders all the way at 6. Again, for a reminder, I had Omar Norman Lott at 7 for me. Again, you pretty much encapsulated everything. The two things that I'd like to add within that pro bucket is he did show to have some good pass rushing moves. Obviously, he doesn't have a super deep bag, but I really liked his swipe and rip moves. They're very, very good. And then within those cons, the other thing, and I had cut out a little bit, so you might have mentioned it. But man, this dude struggled taking on double teams. It seemed like every single double team that he had gotten, he got washed out of the play. He could not drop his anchor, sit into those double teams, and stand his ground. It seemed, again, every double team this guy took on, he was getting washed out of the play. But yeah, I mean, you basically encapsulated it for me, and he was number 6 for me. So,
who's your number 8?
My number 8 was Darius Alexander.
Okay. So, all right. So now we're to my 6, because you had TJ at 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Really quickly, I would like to make a guess that our number 5 are going to be spitting images of each other outside of 2 players that we're going to have flipped at 3 and 4. And then other than that, I think our top 5 is going to be the exact same. And that's my prediction for this pod. But I'll let you get into your number 6 here.
Oh, absolutely. Are you saying like the top 5 stand out from the rest?
I think the top 5 stand out from the rest, but I think we'll have them ordered the exact same as well outside of 3 and 4 being flipped.
Okay.
But yes, the top 5 are definitely better than the rest. There's a bit of a drop off after the top 5.
Yeah, 6. So. I my guy Alfred Collins out of Texas. The pros, length, frame, and powerful, like very similar to Darius Alexander. The point of attack play strength is the calling card. Keeps his feet moving into contact and has real upper body power. Violent hands in the run shed game, gets off blocks in a hurry and does it with technique and coordination and just strength in his hands. Flashes the long arm moves in the pass game and has desired measurements and power in it to be a real winner at the next level. The cons, not explosive off the ball, which can really hurt his effectiveness of a winning bull rush. Will try and overcreate, in quotations for myself, kind of like Alexander, where it's just like we're overthinking, get into the rep, and it's just like you're trying to make everything perfect. So that's something that like sometimes he just tries to throw the guard off and it doesn't work and it's overthinking, and I think the NFL can hopefully simplify that for him. And then the motor and the plan will need to show up more to be an effective starter. And then lastly, he was a 5-year player and a contributor, had 250 plus snaps every single season, but didn't have a true calling card year of production in the pass game. I don't think he ever had a season where he had more than 25 pressures and more than like 5-ish sacks. So the pass rush production was not there for him overall. But again, like I said with Alexander, it's just a floor position, and his body type, his traits, and like the age into it. This is a guy that later of the 3rd round, it's like we just want to get another floor raiser in the building that can play football. I think Alf Collins fits that bill.
Yes, so he was the last guy. I knew there was one guy on here that I did not have ranked that you did, and that was that last guy. I just didn't get a chance to getting around to writing a full eval on both defensive tackles there out of Texas, because I like them both. Both are going to be drafted, I think, within the first 5 rounds at that point. That being said, the one question I have for you is, what in the world are they feeding those hog mollies down there in Austin? How do you guys go from T'Vondre Sweat to Alfred Collins? And obviously Alfred Collins has been in there, again, for the 5 years and everything. But it seemed like a fairly seamless transition from T'Vondre Sweat to Alfred Collins. And then you get to the opposite side of the football where you guys are consistently producing high-quality offensive linemen. I don't know what Texas is feeding them, but my Lord, it is absolutely ridiculous.
Listen, for my sake, I know he wasn't with Texas this past year, but Bo Davis, he went to LSU from Texas, and now he went from LSU to the New Orleans Saints. I'm hoping it's Bo Davis, personally, and he's just this awesome defensive line coach because, I completely agree with you. I've been spoiled across the defensive line with the University of Texas the last few years. I mean, they just keep spitting great players out, and they're going to keep spitting great players out.
Yes. Bo Davis is a solid feller himself as well. That being said, we'll go ahead and get into our top fives. I would be shocked if again, our five was not the exact same. Did you have Tyleik Williams at 5?
I did.
Okay. So we will be the same. So Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State is going to be my number 5. And as you had mentioned previously, when it comes to high floor guys, Tyleik Williams is the textbook definition of high floor guy. Again, he's going to step in and immediately just be, at the bare minimum, a very, very good run defender within the league. He has very good upper body strength. For his size, he actually showed some pretty good athleticism, and then has that good anchor. No shock that, again, that these big run-stopping defensive tackles show these really good anchors. And he really understood that natural leverage. Unlike a guy like Darius Alexander, he understood how to get underneath the pads and kind of keep his ground. That being said, again, he has that high floor. I don't know how much of that high ceiling he's going to be able to project when it comes to the next level, just because there seems to be almost no pass rushing upside outside of a strong bull rush. And sometimes that did not even work out very well for him. And then he's just a smaller guy, and he has smaller arms. I don't have his arms listed here.
32 inches.
Which isn't the worst in the world, but we're being nitpicky. And again, I just think he's smaller, has a little bit smaller arm length, and again, he just lacks that pass rush upside that you would want from taking a defensive tackle within the top 32 picks. But we have seen it before. I mean, Mazi was, I think he was like the 22nd pick, maybe the 21st pick, and he showed absolutely no pass rush upside, and he was still able to get away with it. And I would not be at all shocked if he finds his way sneaking into the back end of the first round here, especially with a team like the Bills or whatnot.
Yeah, Tyleik Williams, again, like the way you said, I have him at a size explosive and powerful to be an awesome nose tackle. And whatever you believe a nose tackle can be drafted, I think he has all the upside to be a fantastic nose tackle, maybe not a 3-tech, but just overall, just a space eater. I think I'm really high on Tyleik Williams. I don't know, like, before, like, prefacing this, did we get any, like, update? I should have looked into this. Update about, like, what happened at his pro day? Because I know he kind of fell.
I know he hurt himself, yeah.
Yeah, I know he
fell. I can look into it.
All right. Well, I'll keep going, and then we'll figure it out. But yeah, run defense is his calling card, gives up little ground due to the size and frame, and flashes the hand violence and activity in run sheds. I thought he had some pass rush stuff in his pocket. I liked what he flashed a swim move. He flashed the ability of a rip move. Didn't do it often, but showing that ability for me was something that I appreciated. He's a good leverage winner. I think he really showed off the anchor base in these sets, getting underneath you and really just standing ground. And then lastly, his production. He had 73 pressures, 13 sacks, and 81 run stops in his entire 4-year career at Ohio State, contributed every single season. He started the past 2 seasons and was rotational player in the first 2, and had 1,100 snaps specifically at nose tackle, according to PFF. I thought that was interesting. I think they're already prepping him for what he would be desired at the next level. And then cons, the arm length is mediocre at 32 inches, which can limit the ceiling as a pass rusher in the counter pass rush department, specifically for me. Off the ball, he is tall and loses the pad level game quickly. It leads to guys getting into him with their punch in the protection game. And then lastly, needs to be more dominant in the double team department. He'll lose his ground even for how big and just wide he is. He'll get stumped in combo blocks. So that's something to work on. But overall, I like Tyleik Williams.
Yes, Tyleik Williams was one of the bigger surprises for me watching him. Again, I knew I had a good idea that he was going to slot in at 5, but I did not expect to like him as much as I did. Moving on to prospect 4. This is where I think 4 and 5 are going to be flipped for us. I could be wrong, and maybe I'm pleasantly surprised by this.
I mean 3 and 4?
Yeah, 3 and 4. I think we're going to have flopped or switched. Really quickly before I do that, Tyleik Williams, there's been no official update on him, but he pulled his hamstring. People suspect that he pulled his hamstring. Again, he had gotten hurt at his pro day, and then came back out with just a wrapped hamstring. So people just expect he might have pulled it or tweaked it, but nothing to a larger concern or extent. Especially for a guy that doesn't rely too much on movement ability. So, number 4 for me, it's one Derek Harmon out of Oregon, and we'll see. Maybe my prediction was right, but I think Derek Harmon offers good size while showing a wide range of pass rush moves. He's very explosive for his size. And this year, he had shown what his pass rush upside can look like. And then in previous years at Michigan State, he had shown a very good ability to be a good run defender. It didn't show up as much on tape this year when he was at Oregon. And he kind of flipped his pass rush versus run defense. But he had shown the ability in both categories to do good at a high level. That being said, when it talks about guys converting pressures into sacks, he really struggled with that. He, I think, only had 1 year where he had 5 sacks, which was this year, and then previously wasn't even close to that. But he was consistently getting pressure on the quarterback, but for some reason or another, he was never really able to convert that pressure again into that sack. But who knows what the cost for that could be. I think he, while is a good athlete and is explosive, I think he's very stiff. I think he has stiff hips, which leads to a poor lateral quickness. But overall, I think Derek Harmon showed the ability to be good against the run and has broken out as a pass rusher. Hopefully that continues to translate, and he's on that upward trajectory. And showed the ability to play all 3 downs at least at a good level, if not maybe a better level in the coming years.
Yeah, you were absolutely right. I have Derek Harmon at 3. Pros pretty easily. He looks the part in every facet. Phenomenal size, weight, and length, blended with the off-the-ball explosion and speed for me. Has a finely tuned pass rush bag of moves, standout bull rush, go-to rip move, like truly winning maneuvers that I saw at the collegiate level will translate to the NFL level, where sometimes you get a look at some of these moves and it's like, that's not going to work at the next level. But I think he's got 2 moves that can really win at the next level. He's heavy-handed with a noticeable motor and sturdiness in the run game against doubles and shed opportunities. I thought he was just overall just a looks the part prospect at D tackle, as I was mentioning before with the floor stuff. Like he looks the part and really just has the moves, has the motor, everything you would ask for. The production, you mentioned it, the production early in his career was bad to not good, and then at Oregon it's an extreme turn. 55 pressures and 25 run stops this season in 2024. They played extra games. They played the conference championship. They played the game in the Rose Bowl. So that maybe sways some stats, but still 55 pressures in a collegiate season is very, very impressive. The cons with Harmon, you kind of mentioned all of them. Not an overwhelming athlete. It limits him in a slant or stunt-filled scheme, noticeably stiff in open field when you're getting into that stuff. Inconsistent as a finisher. I quoted here, like, he does the hard part well, but struggles in the easy department. Like, just the 55 pressures are a good thing, but I don't have the number in front of me, but it was like 5 sacks. Like, you need to start committing and putting those into sack numbers, into losses. And then lastly, the feet will get stuck and predictable into games, and it'll lead to reps just not being able to have a second gear rush because he's swallowed up and just mirrored pretty easily later into games. So yeah, Derek Harmon at 3, I think it's just, again, he's another one of those low floor players that someone's gonna take in the 20s just because they're kind of like, hey, we can throw this guy out immediately. He can do both. He's got a pass rush move, and he's sturdy in the run game. So that's my Derek Harmon kind of piece.
There you go. Who I'm thinking is probably your number 4. Is it Kenny Grant?
It is, yes.
All right, so it's correct. Do you want to get into Kenny Grant as your number 4? He's my number 3.
All right. Yeah, pretty easily. The pros, size, athleticism, movement skills, all just like Tyleik Williams in its own little different way to be an awesome nose tackle. He's powerful in spurts, noticeably in two-gapping and finding and just blowing up doubles. He's massive. Huge guy, like 330-something pounds. He has active and live hands in shed opportunities. The motor flashes in the way he penetrates and sheds. And then production was fascinating. 2 seasons as a starter, had 50 total pressures and 39 run stops on 950 total snaps. So this guy was wrecking havoc. While only 280 of those 950 snaps coming as a true nose tackle and 650 coming up lined up as a defensive tackle. So in the Michigan scheme, he was more of a 3-tech player with a nose tackle body because that athleticism and just movement skills were so overwhelming. They just put him next to Mason Graham and said, go get the passer. And they kind of flip-flopped the nose and things like that. But, yeah, man, like, just that was fascinating to read about and then to just watch is that, like, there's real chops. He could be just a 3-tech penetrator instead of this pigeonholed nose tackle because he's so wide and huge. But, yeah. The cons, get off was inconsistent for me and not overly explosive as a dominant one-phase winner off the ball. Raw hand usage as a pass rusher limits his production and the way he wins. Right now, he's just dependent on the physical traits, the power, the speed. And then lastly, can get knocked off his spot and lose balance due to playing tight and stiff into his base because he is such a big man. But, yeah, I have no problem with Kenny Grant. I would probably, like, oh, man, it's just how high would you take a nose tackle with him and Tyleik Williams? Kind of like, how early would someone take him in the first round? I think someone would want to gamble on his traits because I think there is a world where he is like I mentioned, an interior penetrating 3-tech, and Tyleik is pigeonholed as a nose tackle, and there's more fun to be gained going after Kenny Grant than there is Tyleik Williams at this point.
Exactly. That's the big thing that had separated me between Kenny Grant and Tyleik Williams is his ability to play both that nose tackle, but then also that true defensive tackle position as well. I mean, you basically said it all. I think that has the build to absolutely be that true nose tackle that you'd be looking for in certain schemes, but then also has the flexibility to just play defensive tackle if you want to. That being said, it is hard to move this guy off of his spot because he is just beef. He is a very, very good size, we'll say. As you said, he is very athletic for his size. It is almost jarring and shocking at times. I'd like to call everyone's attention to that play where he ran down Kayvon Allen to stop this breakaway touchdown, and you're like, this guy is moving. There's no reason that a 340-pound nose tackle should be chasing down a running back, given it was Kayvon Allen. We'll get into him next year. That's besides the point. Again, very, very athletic, and I think his testing numbers would have shown that if he was able to test. They ended up, I think, like tweaking an ankle or something right before the combine. But then with that nose tackle and again being beefy and not being moved off of his spot, he does a good job controlling his blockers, getting his hands in, and being kind of the aggressor per se when it comes to the blocking, and kind of being able to control them, put them in either gap that he wants to, because he can two gap, and then be able to shed them as well. And then he did a very good job of getting his hands up and again, blocking those passes. There's plenty of times that I had seen him do that over the last 2 years. That being said, I don't think he consistently wins as a pass rusher. And as a big guy, he loses his balance a little bit more than what I would like. And then there are weight concerns about him. It kind of goes a little bit back to that Jordan Davis stuff. There were times back at Michigan where this guy was like being weighed in at like 365, 370 pounds. And you're like, that's probably not good. But again, he weighed in at 30 at the combine. But there's that weight fluctuation with him. But yeah, you basically see him as similar as you can. Number 2, Walter Nolan. So much fun. The Ole Miss product had spent the first 2 years at Texas A&M. Surprise, didn't really have a whole lot of pass rushing props when he was at A&M. Then comes over to Ole Miss this year and kind of shows what he can do as a pass rusher. Again, I think that's just a lot more of what A&M is asking their defensive linemen rather than what the players can actually do. I think he's a very good athlete. He's very twitchy, very explosive, plays with violent hands, and has very good stamina. He seems like he is on the play, or he seems like he's playing 95% of the snaps. Obviously, that's not the case, but he's in the game at all times at this point. And he flashed pass rush move. And emphasis on flash. I don't think he was ever able to do it at a consistent level, or at least show it consistently, but he showed the ability to do so. For the cons, I think he stands up very quickly and gets upright more than what you would like. I think he plays lighter than what he actually is. I think his weigh-in, he weighed in just fine, but there were too many times, again, that he looked light. He was getting moved off of his spot way easier than what you would think. And then I think he allows his the opposition, the offensive line's hands in his chest way more than what you would like. He's losing that hand fight more than what you'd like to see on tape. But I think he's just a very switched up athlete at the defensive tackle position who can develop into being a very good pass rusher.
Yeah, Walter Nolan easily for me was number 2. In my first pro was in like all caps, explosive athlete off the ball. Truly dangerous first step, leads to I think you put him in a slant stunt kind of tendency scheme. I think he's going to excel as a pass rusher. Has violent and active hands in both the pass and run game, as you mentioned. Flashes the hands and shed opportunities in the run, and the motor in the hands in the pass. Just overall, he's always moving through his arms and his hands and his just overall body. Has 2 winners in the pass rush department for what I can see in his swim and rip. And then the production. It traveled to Ole Miss, 35 pressures, 32 run stops in 2024 alone. True junior, by the way. Cons, you mentioned it. Like, the weight was fine, but he's overall light for the position, and it shows on tape, and the power and just the play strength department, the way he gets maneuvered off spot easily in the run game. The size, like I mentioned here, gets him hurt in the run game, doesn't shed properly for the position in double teams or two gapping, has the frame to put on extra weight, but it could hinder the pass rush, could hinder the athletics. So you're kind of like living in this world where is is this the Walter Nolan we have? And that's a really efficient pass rusher, in my opinion. So I wouldn't mess with it too much. And then fine to mediocre arm length leads to some overextension into creating dead reps. But overall, Walter Nolan was easy for me. I think it's the way the defensive tackles was interesting. Is they all just slowly separate themselves. Like I think Walter Nolan is pretty easily higher than my 3, 4, and 5, where my 1 through 5 are all pretty easily over my 6. So yeah, Walter Nolan was easy.
Yes, I agree. And then the last one, to no one's surprise. Well, maybe to some people's surprise at this point. That's Mason Graham. I almost said Mason. Almost messed up his name there. Anyways, Mason Graham. And before we get into all of this, as of the last couple weeks, I think since the combine, there has been a lot of people kind of dropping him down their board because of his size, but he had played at this size throughout his entire career. I don't think it matters. What you see on tape is what he is playing at, and that's going to project very well. So for people to go in and, again, give him that quote-unquote double negative, saying, oh, he's small, and then have him weigh in and be small, and be like, oh, well, now we have to drop him down even more because he's small. It's just absolutely ridiculous to me. That being said, we'll get into Mason Graham. Absolutely love Mason Graham as a Michigan fan. A very good pass rusher. Clearly the best pass rusher out of anyone in this entire class, in my opinion. Again, has an arsenal of pass rush moves. With his bull rush, his chop seems to be his go-to move in his swim. He has a very good first quick step. And just as I talked about with Kenny Grant, he does a good job of pulling blockers. And then he just has a hot motor. His motor is always as I just talked about. And he weighs, I think he weighed it at like 8, something like that. His arm, I think, was 31, 3/8 or something. It was a crazy fraction like that. He didn't crack into that 32-inch arm length. So he's just a smaller guy, smaller stature, smaller arms. I think he plays with a higher pad level than what you would like with a small guy. And then I think he has to win at the start. It's very hard, and I did not see it often, that he does not win and then recovers and continues to make that play. If he doesn't win, that play is just over for him. You can go ahead and skip to the next play because he's not going to make a play after he loses. But again, I think he is by far the best pass rusher in this class. Very good 3-tech, and he shows the ability to be strong against the run despite his size concerns.
Yeah, Mason Graham was my number 1. You cut out a little in and out there, so I want to make sure I didn't miss anything from you. But yeah, the pros, he was a high floor athlete, no major deficiencies, and he had really good balance. The motor was noticeable in a great way and has violent hands in the pass game, great discipline in the run game, keeps eyes on target and can shed blocks pretty quickly in the run game. He had versatility across the line of scrimmage. He can be a 2-gap penetrator. He can be a lineup 3-tech for you. Just overall, he can move around the line and play where desired. Production, again, was a plus 63 interior D-line pressures mixed with 58 run stops the last 2 seasons, according to BFF. And then the cons. The cons were small arms mixed with fine play strength, and it's going to be maybe a ceiling limiter. But I think he can still beef up overall. He wasn't overly quick or explosive off the ball, but he is laterally smooth for me. And then lastly, this kind of plays into the pass rush thing, where it's he is a jack of all trades, master of none, kind of in the pass rush move department for me at this moment. Him flashing all those things is a plus, but is there a winning maneuver for him just yet? Maybe not, to be a consistent sack finisher, a consistent sack producer. He has a nice swim move. He's a natural wrestler, leverage, has the bull rush behind him when he gets you off balance, but overall needs to develop a winning maneuver to be a consistent sack winner for me. But yeah, Mason Graham is a pretty easy eval. I think he's a top 7 player pretty easily. I think he's going to go in the top 7 picks. Just don't want to. I don't want to overthink this player because I feel like we do a lot. And again, it's one of those positions, IDL, that I think he's walking in the building, a good player with a good floor set underneath him, and he's going to start for a long time in the NFL because of that.
Absolutely. He, with his stock, he kind of seems like the Tedero McMillan on the defensive end of the ball, where people are maybe overthinking what they're watching on tape just a little bit. But yes, that was defensive tackle. I'm going to run through my 8-1 for you guys really quickly before we move on to the next position group. That's Darius Alexander at 8, Omar Norman Lott at 7, TJ Sanders at 6, Tyleik Williams at 5, Derek Harmon at 4, Kenny Grant at 3, Walter Nolan at 2, and Mason Graham at 1.
All right, I'll run through 10. I'll run through my 10. Jordan Phillips out of Maryland at 10, Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M at 9, TJ Sanders out of South Carolina at 8, Darius Alexander out of Toledo at 7, Alfred Collins out of Hook'em Horns, Texas at 6, Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State at 5, Kenneth Grant out of Michigan at 4, Derek Harmon out of Oregon at 3, Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss at 2, and Mason Graham out of Michigan lastly at 1.
Go blue, baby. All right, now we're going to switch over to the other prospect group for you guys. We will be ranking linebacker prospects. I have 8 linebacking prospects. How many do you have?
I have 7, but I have 7 write-ups, but 10 names listed. So I could run through my 10, 9, and 8 who just missed the cut, so I didn't do any write-ups or really major evals on them. But Smile Munden out of Georgia, Kane Madrano out of UCLA, and then Kobe King out of Penn State. They're all kind of fun, traitsy guys that I think will get picked.
Yes. One of those guys that you had mentioned was the guy that I teased to you a little bit in our chat. I have one of those guys ranked significantly higher. I ended up liking him a lot more than he was the last guy that I had watched. And I am glad that I did because he is my linebacker 4 in this class. Yes. And then the guy that's worth mentioning here, if you want to hear my thoughts on one Jalen Walker, you can go to last week's podcast episode or the defensive end / edge group that we will be putting out here soon. But Matt will be talking about Jalen Walker in this week's episode. I will start off at 8. 8 for me is Jay Higgins. And I think my brief synopsis / summary of him is really the best way to describe him. He's a very smart linebacker, but his mind moves faster than what his body allows him to do. Mm-hmm. Again, he's a very smart linebacker, and for his size, he is a physical player. It kind of shocked me a little bit. Again, you see that he's 6 feet tall, 226 pounds. You're like, oh, he can't be physical, but he's just an absolute dog. I think he's a solid tackler with good technique. Showed upside in the blitzing game, and then he's just a high character guy. The Iowa program cannot talk enough about him as a leader. Everyone loves him there. But into the cons, again, he's just a small guy who really isn't athletic at all. So I love Jay Higgins, and I don't want to spend too much time talking bad about him, but it's not usually a good look if you're small and not super athletic. And that's what Jay Higgins is. He seems stiff. He lacks high-end change of direction, and his long speed just wasn't there. He was able to carry vertical routes down the field better than I thought. But again, he just lacked a lot of that athleticism and size. He just doesn't have a whole lot of physical upside to him. But again, a very smart linebacker out of Iowa, and Jay Higgins. Did you have him ranked?
I did not have him ranked. No.
Okay.
I can get into my 7. Pupal out of Ole Miss. The pros, pretty easy. Good speed and movement skills in open space. Has some coverage knocks. Can run at the hip with backs and tight ends, and can close with reaction in zone spots. Shows downhill force as a tackler and taking on linemen when creating, and when creating pressure as a blitzer against running backs in protection. And he has a noticeably high motor. I think Dane Brugler said it best. He was like, there was not a time where you watched Pupal and his jersey was not super, super muddy and like just dirty. That's the motor this guy plays with. The cons, he's a small and stocky player. Sub 30-inch arms. According to Mock Draftable, only 6 players since 1999 have ever entered the draft with sub 30-inch arms at off-ball linebacker. So, fascinating. Like, it is an outlier in terms of arm length. The leverage for his size needs to get better, has knockback to him, but often is going to tackle high, leaving him susceptible to tackle breaks mixed with his short arms. I think a lot of guys could showcase some contact balance against him and really bounce off him too often for my liking. And then lastly, coverage discipline and scramble drill was a real problem. He just vacated zones sometimes when guys got out of the pocket. He would just leave his man coverage assignment just because a guy got out of the pocket. I think he was just in his head going, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get that MFer, and kind of just forgot about what was my job before? Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get the ball. So that was something fun with him. But yeah, Pupal was a fun watch, and I had to include him in this.
Yes, Pupal is a lot of fun. I have him ranked at 6. And again, the big thing about him is just being small and having those short arms. But unlike Jay Higgins, he actually shows some good athleticism. I think he's a good athlete. He shows good closing speed in zone coverage. And then when manning up with your tight ends and running backs, I think he is a clean hand fighter. Not a whole lot of grabby. He just does a good job of using his hands. And again, I think he did show a blitzing upside. But as you said, gap discipline within run instinct just didn't show. Again, he tackles high, which is shocking for a smaller linebacker. And those are big ones. Again, his tackling, his run discipline, and his small stature. But he was linebacker 6 for me. But another smart, high character motor guy for me. So number 7 for me is Jeffrey Basse. Is that how you pronounce that?
Jeffrey Bassa, yes. I'm excited.
Bassa. That's what it is. Which makes me think you might have him high. He is a converted safety, and that coverage skills translates to him as a linebacker. He is a very fluid mover and has very good zone awareness. He has again, good awareness to see when guys are coming into their zone, when to pick them up, and then when to let that guy vacate his zone and move back onto the safety or whatnot. I think he does a good job taking on blocks, and I think he has a good frame that he can grow into. That being said, he's not very big right now, but you get him into an NFL weight room, and I think he can really put on weight and really become jacked and can, again, really grow into that frame. I think he struggles against physical pass catchers, specifically your more physical tight end, a guy like Tyler Warren. He has shorter arms. He plays with a high pad level. And then he struggles, working through traffic when covering man. But again, he's just a very good coverage linebacker. And again, that should be no surprise when you take into account that he was a converted safety.
Yeah, I bossed it all the way up at 4. I was like, this was a guy that I think he's going to be on my guy list because like I haven't really sifted through interviews the way I did for him. Like, I wanted to hear this guy talk because my number one pro for him was off-the-page intelligence. He handled the communication. He was so smart in zone feel and zone IQ, and he just sifted through gaps in the run game very well, and he was never caught flat-footed on, like, a play-action fake, stuff like that. He always felt like he was in the right place, in the correct spot, even in the Senior Bowl for me. He was a good run defender, sheds well for his undersized frame, doesn't have many missed tackles, a 9.6 rate according to PFF, and he takes coordinated angles. He was a great sideline-to-sideline mover in coverage. Just overall, like, he was just a fascinating watch for me. Being a converted safety and being smaller, I just thought he was in the right place all the time, and I was just fascinated by him. Cons, he's small, and he's not an overwhelming athlete, so that might limit him at the next level. Play strength is a concern, but he has the frame to grow into, so as you were mentioning, I think you can put some upper body weight on him specifically into that stuff to help the play strength, and then the short arms cause fits with really, like, shifty, and I made this word up, but, like, geary running backs, like Genty, where Genty can just accelerate, stop, and start the way he does to kind of tee you up like a boxer and just break your tackle. He did it to Bossa once in the Boise State game, but overall, like, that is going to be something he struggles with. And then lastly, the pad level at the point of attack will need to be refined with how just short he is. He's like 6'1". It can become a strength if he figures it out in the run game. But overall, yeah, Bossa, just watching him and just, like I said, I'm repeating myself, but him being in the right spot all the time, it is an intelligence position for me. If it's the way I watch Fred Warner and guys like that, it's just like there is a coordinated running with your hair on fire kind of thing with those guys, and it's just I want that guy to be able to communicate and just be overly intelligent as an off-ball linebacker, and I think Bossa fit that bill for me better than nearly anybody in this class.
There you go. Linebacker 6 for me was Poop Paul. So who's your linebacker 6?
Danny Studsman out of Oklahoma. He was an interesting player. Pros, he's a huge and jumbo-sized player. 6'4", 240. Just ideal broad linebacker. Good athlete with the speed and agility desired from someone with a big frame, and he can pressure the quarterback from the linebacker spot. He has a plus in the communication department, doing it at Oklahoma forever. And then this last one for the pros. Played so many effing snaps. 2,500 plus snaps as a 3-down backer. They lined him up as a dime backer. They lined him up in nickel. They lined him up in base. He was their everything, every man, and he has the body type to do it. So I expect an NFL team to at least try it. The cons, my number one con was he's a weirdly awful run defender. Like everything. He gets fooled in gaps constantly, isn't a reliable tackler in space, and doesn't have the play strength to really knock back even as big as he is. Like, it was awkward watching him try and stop the run. But it's like, you have the frame to do it, dude. Like, you can get this. And then sideline to sideline range was limited to nothing at the next level. And then processor for, like, play action fakes got him multiple times, and that'll need to get better. But overall, like, the size athlete thing, like, run and hit backer, like, he's gonna be drafted pretty high, and I'm gonna understand why.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, me and you see him again very similar. He was my linebacker 5, again, just because that one guy ended up sneaking his way in. Again, you basically said everything that I would have said. Again, has that good combination of size and speed. he can lay the wood. My Lord, he can really knock someone out, which should not be surprised with his size. I think he does a good job manning up, and again, that's specifically in man coverage schemes against your running backs and tight ends. And again, for his size, it should come as no surprise to anyone that he is a good blitzer. As you said, it's him in his run, his ability to play the run. Again, it's just oddly confusing. Again, he gets moved off of blocks or moved by blocks way more than what you would like. He falls for fakes a whole lot of time. And then I think he also gets lost in zone coverage. He kind of doesn't, I don't know if he doesn't know where he's looking, if he's just unaware, but he just gets lost within that zone coverage. And then you had Jeffrey Bassa at 4, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Who was your linebacker 5?
Demetrius Knight.
Ooh, okay. Here's my LB3. If you want to get into
3?
it. Yeah.
Demetrius Knight, the pros. I think this is probably weird because I have a different 2 than you, definitely, with Walker in here. So we kind of see Knight in the middle of this linebacker class pretty closely. The pros size match with a thick overall build, great run and hit backer. I think there's a ton of those guys. I think there's a ton of not really Mike backers outside of maybe Bassa for me, but just a ton of dudes who just run and hit and can really do it at an effective level. Like just hair on fire, go get the guy. He has good diagnosis in the run game and keys with correct timing. Strong at the point of attack for a backer. Hands are made of stone, and the long arms flash an extension in one-on-one combat. Smart, reliable tackler in open space, drops the pad with intent and wrap-up ability. And then the cons, frankly, loved him as a run and hit guy, loved him in the run game, hated him as a pass guy. Did not like him as a pass coverage guy. Doesn't have great awareness in zone. Gets left out to dry in certain matchups in man, and doesn't possess great sideline to sideline stuff to drive on the ball and make consistent production, which is like pass breakups and interceptions. The hips are tight and not fluid, and doesn't change of direction too well when he's going out to the flat to try and guard a running back or go up and I got to go to that corner route to stop that tight end. Things like that, really shifting outside of his range was a problem for me in pass coverage. And then lastly, I don't really do this, but he's 25 and he feels limited. He feels like a limited player. So when it's like that, it's I don't really want to bring up age, but for this guy, I kind of have to, because I don't think I'm getting a limited product already. Where guys who are kind of older, I'm expecting maybe a finished product. Okay, this is what you are. I see what I get. And for him, it's a great run and hit guy. It's a great run defense guy. It's a great guy I want to put in base coverage, but there's no way you're seeing 3rd and 7.
Yes. No. Again, we see him in very similar. I think he is a guy that has good athleticism. I think it can at times translate to him being good in coverage, but as you had mentioned, he struggles again with that awareness in zone, and then just ability to match up in man. But I think he has. Again, good athleticism, good length. I think he has a very quick trigger when it comes to run, getting in the gap, and just filling it. Responsibility, and again, a very solid tackler. That being said, again, he's older, like you had just mentioned, 25. How much is there more room for him to grow, especially at that age? I think size is a concern. He's a very dense guy, but he's not a very big guy. And again, that coverage, he doesn't have lateral quickness to really keep up in man, doesn't have the awareness to be good in zone. And then for a guy who's very good in the run, he didn't do a very good job shedding blocks as much as I would have liked. But yes, we see him again, very similar, good in base coverage. Again, very good run and hit, as you had said. So, all right, drum roll. My number 4, Smile Munden Jr. I was just in love with the tools that this guy freaking flashed on tape. It was ridiculous. Again, I barely knew who this guy was before I went into this process. But again, the tools that he flashes on tape is absolutely ridiculous. He's a lengthy guy with true sideline to sideline speed and has a very good athleticism. I think he had solid to good technique when tackling, didn't really miss a whole lot of tackles, but again has good weight or a good frame to add weight, and that athleticism really allows him to be a solid coverage linebacker day one in the NFL. But I think he struggles in the run game when it comes to take on those blocks. He has a long laundry list of injuries, and he's just not the best he's not the best blitzer. But again, with his ability to tackle, ability to fill in the holes, especially with his length and athleticism and coverage, I think this guy is a guy that not enough people are talking about. He will find his way onto my guy list because I think he has all the traits and already has enough football IQ to step in and be a very good 3-down linebacker almost immediately when he steps into the NFL. And I'm a bit confused why people aren't as high on him as I am. Can you clear a little bit of that up for me?
I think it's a lot of projection for me. I think the play strength stuff and the injuries overall is just limiting for me. I think everything you said as a pass coverage guy, I would agree with. I think he can step in the door and he can be a productive pass guy, but overall it's just filling out that weight and filling out that frame that is going to take time and the injuries. So no, I completely get it, but he is a projectable player more so than a finished product and like an intelligent guy, as I prefer in this department.
That's fair enough. I hate to say this because I love him as a prospect, and I also love this player as a prospect coming out. And again, I'm not making the one-to-one comparison as how I think he will project going into the next level as a player. But as a prospect, he reminded me a lot of Jamin Davis. I watched him and I was like, this guy is I think he reminded me, again, he gave me heavy shades of Jamin Davis. They struggled with similar things, but they were both more raw but athletic players at the linebacker position. And as you said, he has that projection, and that didn't work out for Jamin Davis. So I'm wondering how much of that translates as well, and might be why his stock might be a little bit lower. So your linebacker, I guess 3 for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
My 3 is Carson Schlesinger out of UCLA. The pros, good athlete with the frame, the speed, the acceleration to succeed at the next level. I think he was good in coverage with both man and zone. Reliable tackler, registered a 7.6 missed tackle rate. Flashes intelligence in his processing of run and pass tough. Rarely is caught flat-footed in those instances. The cons, he was not an overwhelming force of nature in the run and hit category. Physicality could go up a gear. What was weird is like people were shocked that he was 240. I don't know what he played at. You know, he looked kind of tighter So maybe he was playing in the, the high 220s into the 230s and really beefed up for the combine, or he was just always playing at 240 and just never really showcased the physicality that you would desire from a guy who's 240. But it's interesting. He had fine hip fluidity, and change of direction gear was a minus. And then only 1 year of production as a former walk-on, still learning the position as a whole, and he's gonna be a development. I think the last 2 years at UCLA, he had like 200 snaps or less, and this year he had over 700 this year. So it's just still figuring it out. I really, really like him. If you can put some, just like Hulk serum in him and make him angry to where he uses that frame to really be physical and go and hit people, yeah, he'd probably be up there close to 1 for me. But he's stuck at 3 right now. I don't think that's a bad spot.
Yes. Again, he'll be 2 for me. Demetrius Knight was 3 for me, and I don't have Jalen Walker on my list. So that's why Carson Schlesinger is 2 for me. And I apologize if you guys can hear the tornado sirens in the background. Fingers crossed you cannot hear them. But
yeah, you're all
wish
good,
Bloomington best of luck. That being said, the reason I think people were surprised by that 240 weight was because UCLA had him listed at 225. And most of the time, colleges end up actually having their players listed way higher than what they are versus lower. Like that's the same thing that you had seen with Mason Graham. Michigan had him listed at like 320 and he weighed in at like 288, which nevertheless. Yeah, yes, big difference. But again, see him again, very similar. I think he's a good athlete. I think he ran a 4.7 at the combine, but I think he runs much faster when the pads are actually on. And I think he translates that athleticism and speed much more to the playing field speed and playing speed than he does true testing numbers there. I think he's smart when it comes to the run game. Again, sometimes he gets washed out, takes bad angles, can't really get off blocks. But I think he does a good job diagnosing what the play is. I think he shows good upside with his athleticism in zone. And again, he has that sideline to sideline range because of that athleticism. And again, as I said, bad angles, struggles to get off blocks, has good tackling technique, but doesn't really lay the boom. He isn't a super hard or physical player. And then again, that playing time, he didn't really get any substantial amount of snaps before this year. But yes, we again would have ranked him at the exact same, if not for Jalen Walker.
All right. Is it time for my number 2?
Yes.
All right. It's time for Jalen Walker again. All right. So we did Jalen Walker last week, and you had him ranked 5th or 6th with the edge rushers, which I probably comparatively would if I ranked him as an edge. I ranked him as an off-ball linebacker. The pros, he's a freaky run and hit athlete, man. Truly side-to-side stuff was unique. He has a high motor that is always moving and looking to find the ball. Many, coverage pressures and just batted balls, just running around as a super athlete does at Georgia and just makes plays. And then lastly, you mentioned him, talking about Devin White. I think Jalen Walker is the ultimate blitz backer. I thought there were so many times where it's just, disguise blitzes, things like that, where he's blitzing as an off-ball guy. And I don't know if it was we don't want to put him at edge. I don't know if it was this is where he's truly unlocked. But they did it a lot. And then the cons, he's an awkward in-between frame. Like, he's shorter. He's 6'2". He's broad that, he's short and broad. Some see him as an edge. I see him as an off-ball. He played 311 off-ball snaps this season compared to 249 edge snaps at UGA. And it's fascinating to see what an NFL team drafts him as. The most common comp you're going to see with Jalen Walker is likely going to be Nolan Smith. So I was fascinated by that. I was interested. I was like, all right, Nolan Smith. Ben, how many slot / box snaps in his career do you think Nolan Smith had at Georgia?
Oh God,
I'm
this
putting
might
you
be
on
a
the
leading
spot, and that's
question.
not fair. But so I'll tell. He had 51 total, both in the box
I was
and
gonna
the
guess
slot
100. Yeah,
combined. Jalen Walker had 300 this past season. So it's like,
because he's Devin White.
and it's like, I'm trying to get it through my head where it's like, okay, he's a physical athletic freak. I understand that. But even Georgia, the place that Nolan Smith was like 220, 230, and we threw him at edge all the time because he was such a good run and hit edge. Where Walker, who is even bigger than that, he's taller than that because I think Nolan Smith's like 6'1", is playing off ball 300 snaps. So it's like, I feel like I'm trying to read what Kirby is doing, that there's a reason this guy didn't play more edge. There's just a reason. Even in a season where Mykel Williams is hurt, even in a season where it's just this constant rotation as they always do, he only played 250 edge snaps and never, like, until... So, again, he's an interesting player that I'm just, like, Daniel Jeremiah today comes out and is like, oh yeah, he moved him up into his top 5. And I'm like, how? How are we doing that? Like, he's not working out. We're not. I continue to watch. We might get to the point where, like, Jalen Walker passes Jackson Dart of times I've watched a certain player because I'm just trying to figure it out. I just want to know what everyone else is seeing because there's so many people who are smarter than me and been doing this longer than me that have him in their top 5 players, and I can't even put him as my number 1 off-ball linebacker. That's also because I love the number 1 player. But yeah, Jalen Walker. I feel like I rambled too much about Jalen Walker, but that's the last time we're gonna do that because there's no reason to keep griping up this tree anymore with Jalen Walker.
we may have already slandered him enough based off last week's episode. But yeah, I to Jalen Walker, and this will be the last thing. I do think he has very high end explosion and twitch to him. Immediately could be like a top 5, top 10 guy when it comes to that category specifically. And it's whether or not you think that can actually translate and what he can do with that elite trait that he possesses. So,
yeah.
And then to no one's shock, to no one's surprise here, both of our number 1 prospects here within this linebacker group is Jahad Campbell. He is just the perfect blend of height, weight, speed. He really does pretty much all of it very, very well outside of one thing, and I'll get into that in just a second. I think he does a very good job of reading the QB's eyes within pass coverage, which really shows nuance and the ability to do that at a high level. I think he flashed some very, very, very good upside as a pass rusher, and I think he is a good, strong, solid tackler. That being said, the two things, and they can maybe go hand in hand with one another, I think he needs to have just improved overall football instinct / IQ. And then he wasn't trusted to be the green dot player within that Alabama scheme. He wasn't the one calling the plays. And again, I think those two kind of go hand in hand. But just from what he put on tape, he has all the physical upside that you want to see for a player taken within the top 15 to 20 picks, but then he also had a good tape to back that up as well. If he was in a class 10 years ago, for example, he would be a top 10 pick in this class. And I'm not even completely ruling out him being a top 10 pick in this class. The only reason he might not be is because he plays the linebacker position. But again, he's a true freak of nature in every sense of the sentence.
Yeah, you took the first phrase out of my mouth. A freak of nature athlete that translates to the field. Has true run and hits, stuff in open space and has dangerous closing speed into the backfield. He's a good cover backer with the way he positions his eyes mentally on the quarterback and just the way he locates his body against his assignment in like man coverage, like tight ends, slots, running backs, etc., etc. And then he's a reliable and strong tackler at the point, can make freakish tackles that shouldn't have a chance of possibility, alignment versatility, and good motor. He played 781 snaps this season in 13 games, played in the bowl game against Michigan, and he lined up outside the shoulder of the tackle as a true edge rusher for 112 snaps. That is a 14% rate. So they threw him out at edge. They said, oh, you can do that too, just like I mentioned with Jalen Walker. And then lastly, the unreal production, over 50-plus solo tackles, 5.3 missed tackle rate, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, an interception, just overall just a box score stuffer. And then lastly, like the cons, you mentioned them perfectly. He thinks too hard and will get caught watching, and it's mostly mental mistakes. He gets stand still sometimes. Wasn't the mic backer, so he wasn't the communicator of the defense. And then lastly, just throwing it on top, shedding blocks in the run game was not his strong suit, the hand technique, stuff like that. But to play on your last point about being a top 10 pick, Jahad Campbell is going to be a top 8 player for me. I love this player. Mm-hmm. I will go to bat for this player. I don't know where he's going to go. Like, any of us don't know where anybody's going to go. But this guy, all this process, like, I liked him. It was that fun thing where it was like, I liked watching him play. And it's just like, how's that going to translate? And then you start getting closer and closer to the date, and it's just like, I am enthralled with this player. And that's how I feel about Jahad Campbell. And I'm just excited to see where he goes because he could really take over the linebacker position for me.
Absolutely. To your point, too, I think of all the linebackers that I had watched, over the last week or so when it comes to really digging into this position, he was the only linebacker that I saw that also covered out of the slot. Again, mm-hmm. Throughout this process, we talked about, they can cover tight ends, they can cover running backs, but you never mentioned them covering the slot guys. Jahad Campbell can do that, and he showed he can do that at a good to high level in college. He is just so much fun to watch. The more I watch him, the more I just fall in love with him as a prospect. Really can't say enough good things about him. And yes, will definitely be a top 10 prospect. It's just a matter of will he be taken in the top 10. From 8 to 1, it was Jay Higgins out of Iowa. Jeffrey Bassey, again, I know I'm saying that wrong, but that's all right, out of Oregon. Paul out of Ole Miss at 6. Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma at 5. Smile Munden Jr. out of Georgia at 4. Demetrius Knight out of South Carolina at 3. Carson Schlesinger out of UCLA at 2. And Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. Roll Tide at number 1.
7, Paul. 6, Danny Stutzman. 5, Demetrius Knight. 4, Jeffrey Bassa. 3, Carson Schlesinger. 2, Jalen Walker. 1, Jahad Campbell for me.
There you go. Well, that wraps up the linebacker and defensive tackle rankings for us for today. Next week, that leaves 2 positions that have not been scouted. You guys are able to piece it together at this point, so I might as well go out and say it. It's going to be DBs next week. And that will probably be more of a combined list than it was a separate list. At least for me, it's probably going to be a little bit more of a combined list. And that'll round out our prospect rankings for you guys. And that leaves us 1 week after we finish up our prospects. We're going to do a My Guy episode, maybe throw in some superlatives in there as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the next few weeks. Again, basically 3 weeks out of the draft at this point. It is exciting stuff. Any last words before we move on to the last segment here?
No. It's just it's coming to an end of the scouting is much sadness, but it just leads us into the actual draft. So we find out like all this work we have put into like these players and like finding who we love and finding who we want to see drafted by our teams. We finally get to see the real thing happen, and it's awesome that it happens early in April this year, where usually like sometimes it happens like the 28th, the 29th. This year it's the 24th. So we're 22 days away, man.
A lot of fun. And we'll be moving on to our final segment, the segment you guys have known to come and love. Only 3 more of these, and then we are all done, which is a little bit crazy to say. That is our mock draft episode segment, and we are ready to go whenever you are. I think this is mock draft number 4.
Number 4.
Number 4. I cannot remember who went first last week.
Me neither, to be honest.
I think you went.
I had 3. I know I had 3.
You went first. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna. So
yes.
it is. We'll do you.
Guys, I wonder where I'm going with this pick. Cam Ward. I just sound like a broken record at this point. Again, everything you guys have heard. Again, over the last couple weeks, they've done everything to at least try to create a good supporting cast around a quarterback. That last piece is getting their quarterback. So you take the best guy at that position at number 1 in Cam Ward.
Yeah, number 2, I think the writing is getting close to being on the wall. I think this is going to be Abdul Carter, number 1 player for me out of Penn State. You put a formidable pass rushing duo of him and Myles Garrett next to each other. Myles just gets the big extension. Abdul Carter on a rookie extension. Like, we looked at what the Browns could do with, Joe Flacco and the number 1 defense a few years ago, like not even 2 years ago, and they were a playoff team and almost won their division. What if getting a guy like Abdul Carter just dropped right in there can just rejuvenate Myles Garrett and B, the entire defense, the secondary. So I think this is going to be the pick, and so make it now.
There you go. Again, no pushback there. This is hard because it really is between the 2 Colorado guys at this point. Mm-hmm. Do you go with Travis Hunter or do you go with the quarterback? I really do think they love Shedeur Sanders at this point. It seems like that's been how it's been since the Seniors Shrine Bowl. They've met with him quite often. Some fun clips of him coming out saying he's going to play in the NFC East. Which is obviously would allude to him being a Giant. So that is why I'm going to go with Shedeur Sanders at this pick, as much as it hurts me to do that.
Yeah, I mean, just what an overhaul of your quarterback room. Going and getting Jameis Winston, then Russell Wilson, and now Shedeur Sanders in the top 3. What an overhaul. Save the job, Joe Shane. I hope you do. And the Patriots are cackling. They are cackling because they just got maybe their number 1 player on the board at number 4 in Travis Hunter. Listen, whatever you want Travis Hunter to play. I'll probably mention him. I know I did a write-up on him for receiver, but I'm definitely going to do one at corner because I think there's a true possibility he's either one. He's that good. You could put him at receiver next to Stephon Diggs, who they just signed, and he could be he's so twitchy off the ball as a receiver. I want to see it happen so bad. But again, he has true mirror ability as a corner, and he's just a unique athlete that I think he's gonna be put there.
Yes, this is the best case scenario for the Patriots. Being able to pick between Travis Hunter or your choice of offensive lineman, you really can't go wrong at this point in the draft with the way the board had fallen.
I'll say this. I think the hardest decision you're making with number 4, if that's the board, is what position is Travis Hunter going to play at that point. I'm that confident in them taking that guy at 4.
Absolutely, absolutely. Chalk here over the last couple of weeks of us doing this has either been Tet or Mason Graham. Right, I'm gonna get a little funky here. We're gonna make a pick we haven't made before, and I have not seen it. I wouldn't be shocked if it has been made before, but I have not seen it personally. Could you name the starting tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars now that Evan Ingram is gone?
Starting tight end, Brenton Strange, Penn State.
Yeah, it's Brenton Strange, and Brenton Strange is fun. I have no issues with Brenton Strange. But if we are trying to surround our young quarterback with good pass catchers, Brenton Strange probably does not fit that bill. And you already have your wide receiver one, or at least what seems to be their wide receiver one, in Brian Thomas Jr. So go out and fill a position of need. Go out and fill a position of need and get Tyler Warren. I've not seen this pick. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't know why I haven't seen this pick, but yeah, Tyler Warren.
I love it, man. I mean, this is the experiment phase. I mean, this is to have fun, and I think Tyler Warren is going to be well worth like a top 12, 13-ish pick. Your logic is sound. I mean, yeah, maybe it's not a valuable position enough, but we saw Kyle Pitts go this high, and we've seen TJ Hawkinson with the same model build as Tyler Warren go as, I think he went 8. So absolutely, I think Tyler Warren could be in play here. I think this is his absolute ceiling, but he could be well worth in play. Yes. And I think the Raiders are pretty easily logging in Teteroa McMillan. Like, as much as I want to play into, like, again, talking about Daniel Jeremiah, where he had Teteroa McMillan as his wide receiver 4, if you include Travis Hunter, which I just think it's too low for me. And I still think this is a top 10 player. I still think his traits are so desirable as an X receiver in the NFL that I want to take him. And there's, again, I feel like we've made this pick before, but again, like, nothing on the Raiders is stopping you from taking Teteroa McMillan.
Absolutely not. Overthinking Teteroa McMillan. We've said it numerous times. I'm going to continue to try to pound that home. He for me is, I think, I don't want to say clearly, but is definitively the best wide receiver in the class for me. I understand why people like Matthew Golden, especially with the time and the after catch upside that Luther Burden offers. But there are not many guys with the size that can move as well as Tet does in this league. So, for me, Jets, we're going to continue to build up an offensive line. The big reason that the Justin Fields experiment failed in Chicago because he just did not have a good offensive line. And they drafted Olu last year, so they're certified. They're fine through left tackle. Go out and get your right tackle now. And there's a guy staring at you in the face. I'm sorry if I'm cutting in and out here. In Armand Membu, who played pretty much almost strictly at right tackle through his entire career in college. Again, continue to try to build. An offensive line for Justin Fields and hope that experiment works for him.
I love it. I mean, you throw out 2 athletic freaks at tackle and Fashino and Membu, and you tell them to figure it out. I think they have the skills to do so. I think you made this one easy for me once again with, like, the Teteroa McMillan and even the Patriots. I mean, this is Mason Graham. This is the number 1 defensive lineman in the class. You pair him next to Derek Brown, you get you get star power along the defensive line. And I think that's all Carolina is looking for at number 8, just getting a star-packed player. And Mason Graham is definitely that. So just sprint the card in at 8.
Yes, absolutely. They need help everywhere along the defensive side of the ball, and Mason Graham is clearly the prospect at that point in the draft. As far as the Saints, so I've been really interested in the Saints. After further conversations me and you have had, they could really go anywhere that they want in this draft class. Jackson Dart, maybe? But no, there's really not anywhere in this class. Any position in this class, I could see them not wanting at this point. So I've been looking at a lot of drafts. Given I don't know if Will Campbell is there, but a pick that I like and see often, and you can tell me I'm outright wrong, and I can take Will Campbell if you hate the pick that I'm about to make. But that's Will Johnson. You guys lost you lost obviously Marshawn, and then Paulson Adebo left as well. So you need help on the outside at the quarterback position, and Will Johnson is the best one here in the draft.
I think, again, it continues to overload your Brandon Staley philosophy of bringing in the new quarters look, bringing in, Justin Reed as your true safety. I think it continues to just do right by your defensive coordinator and bring in a true outside corner. It gives you that, the benefit of oversaturation in the corner room, I think. So, yeah, I think early in the process, I was really sold on a Will Johnson, but as we get closer and closer and in the realization of the players that would be on the board, I'm not as sold as I once was on Will Johnson. But again, I think I've told you this multiple times, and I probably have said it here, is the Saints should be in the interest of getting good players first, and you worry about the position later, because that's where they're at. They just need good darn players to play on Sundays consistently at a cheap figure relative to what their value is. And I think Will Johnson could be that. So, yeah, I absolutely don't hate the pick. Number 10, the Bears. Again, this is a dream for Chicago. You get maybe one of the better left tackles, if not the best left tackle, falling to you at 10, and you get a dynamic playmaker in Ashton Genty falling to you at 10, and it's just an oversaturation of riches. What are we going to do? I think I would probably prefer Campbell here, just by a hair, because I think Genty is just too easy. But, yeah, I'm going to take Will Campbell.
How funny would it be to just be like, oh, they have Christian McCaffrey. Well, he's hurt, so let's just get him Ashton Genty, right? Very unique scenario. Most of the time, there's an offensive lineman that I really like for the Niners here, but the way the board has fallen, I'm not going to reach on one of them. Again, that Will Campbell pick was very good. Continue to build good offensive line. As we talked about, that's the reason Justin Fields didn't work out. For me, it goes to edge rusher, right? And I'm really stuck between Mike Green at this point and Shamar Stewart at this point. Because Shamar Stewart, for me, is the better prospect. I have him ranked higher. Mm-hmm. But Mike Green seems more of a Kyle Shanahan guy. And he seems to, at least in my head, fit a little bit more, especially into that solid defense. I could be 100% wrong, but they drafted Will McDonald a couple years ago because they love these pass rushing demons, and that's exactly what Mike Green is. For that reason, it hurts. Usually you want to take the best player available, but I think Mike Green just fits what they're looking for more out of these edge rusher positions. That is why I'm going the Mike Green route.
Yeah, I mean, any edge rusher they put on the outside or the opposite side of Nick Bosa, I think is going to catch a lot of one-on-ones. And if you can win those one-on-ones, you're going to be a productive pick. The Cowboys, I mean, this is Genty. I feel like it's an easy pick. I feel like a lot of people make it because it's easy. Like they need a running back. Who did they band-aided it with Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. Again, those players don't stop you from getting Ashton Genty. But I always think back to like 1 year with Jerry. Like this is kind of rambling, but there was a year 2014 when he could have taken Manziel and instead took the tackle from Notre Dame, who kicked inside to guard and ended up being Zach Martin. So this could be one of those choreographed picks. Like what if Genty makes it to 12? And Jerry takes a boring pick and it ends up being Jahad Campbell. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's a linebacker, blah, blah, blah. And it's a guy as talented as him. I would be fascinated. For the sake of this, I'm just going to take Ashton Genty. I think it's easy and it's right there. And I don't know if we've done it because of how much we enjoy Ashton Genty. So he's always gone before this pick, frankly. But yeah, I think they should be in the business of getting offensive playmakers first and foremost on rookie contracts. So Genty it is.
Yes, absolutely. This pick seems, as you said, almost too obvious to the point that I wouldn't be completely shocked if they just said, we're going to go a different direction. But it again, just makes too much sense with the guys that they have there in the backfield and the need to just get skill position players. So Dolphins at 13. This is tough because I feel like this is where a little bit of the repetitiveness starts to come into play. What does a tackle board look like right now? I don't know if there's a tackle I want to take. I just want to see what it looks like. Yeah, we'll go Josh Simmons. I completely forgot about Josh Simmons at this point. Again, it's the easy one. I think we've said it numerous times. A very good tackle, just wasn't able to put a full season together due to injury. But what we saw out of him, he projects very well to be a very good bookend tackle.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to step in and have to play because, I mean, Teron Armstead is the starter right now. So he better bring his cleats every game day because there's going to be a time Josh Simmons has to go in the game. But the Colts,
Yes.
I think this is kind of just value meeting. I think we're just too late on Shamar Stewart, so I'm going to take him. Like, that's pretty easily. You put him next to Buckner, that you have Kwity Paye, you took Laiatu Latu. You're just double dipping because I think the value is too much. And again, I think you're putting kind of pressure on Lou Anarumo to perform with him right away. And I know Lou Anarumo doesn't have a track record of development, but I think Chris Ballard, in a real prove-it year, needs to get a standout player. And I think Shamar Stewart does that.
Yes, you stole that pick right out underneath me. That's exactly who I would have taken here at 15. It really complicates things for me. For those who had listened to the edge rush rankings, I'm not as high on a James Pierce. Oh, okay. Well, there's Walter Nolan right there. So we're actually all right. I was like, I almost got spicy with it and said Luther Burden, but Walter Nolan's right there.
Whoa, Luther Burden would be awesome.
That would have been fun. But I'm not going to complicate the pick. Again, they need the pass rush. Grady Jarrett just left. There's not an end that I really like here at this position at this point in the draft. And I really do like Walter Nolan.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think this one, do I look at the D-line? Do I take Derek Harmon just to fill the skill set because it's such a need for them. I think the corner market is like kind of, yeah. I mean, you could take Jahdae Barron, but you're going to play him on the outside where I kind of see him as more of a nickel guy than a true boundary every down boundary player. And you already have Garrett Williams. I think it's, again, like I talked him up. I think it's Jahad Campbell here. Again, just keep reloading that defense with talented players. And Jahad Campbell is a very, very talented player and gives you just, like I said in the linebacker show, like he had a 14% rate of lining up over or outside the tackle. So lining up as an edge rusher, Jahad Campbell did it 14% of the time, which is staggering rate for an off-ball linebacker, but he did it. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I love that pick. And they kind of have a history of doing that, given under different GMs, but they kind of love to get those off-ball linebackers that can really rush the passer.
Watching Austin Fort now, like, who's the GM of the Card. Like, he is all about value, and I think Jahad Campbell at this point classifies as a value. If he needs to take a valuable position, go ahead, but there's no more valuable pick for me than Jahad Campbell at this point.
No, absolutely. For the Bengals, it really comes down to what edge / defensive player suits your fancy here. There were hopes that maybe they could find a middle ground with Trey, but that seems to not be the case with the reports coming out that they're very far apart. They kind of pulled a Jerry Jones on him and didn't really want to involve his agent, which is just never a good sign. So we're going to go with edge. I'm debating if I go with the board or if I go with my best player.
You got to go with yours.
I mean, if we're going with mine, it's going to be Donovan Ezraku. Again, if you've listened to the podcast, you would not be surprised with Donovan Ezraku here at this pick. A lot of people could be thrown off saying, whoa, it's way higher. I usually see him going to Detroit or the Eagles or something. But again, he is just an absolute demon on the pass rush. Again, he has a little bit of a ways to develop in the run game, but he rushes the passer like no other.
Yeah, Seattle again, it's always hard to like project because it's like we know going in they really need a guard. And well, they aren't going to take a guard because John Schneider does not take those like lower value positions in the first round. He takes, premium stuff. So again, if I'm kind of playing the board, I'm looking at Pierce, but again, we're going to read into the stuff with Pierce. I'm going to take Mykel Williams out of Georgia, who would be my next best edge rusher. I think he's an instant walking in the door run fit plus, a run defender plus. He again has the body type that you desire in the Mike McDonald system. So overall, it's taking a value position at a premium school and hope for development.
Yeah, no, that made my pick very, very easy here. Love the pick. I do understand the character concerns there with James Pierce. But James Pierce would be a lot of fun in Tampa Bay. And that's going to be the pick here. Again, they're going to continue to build along a defensive line and create maybe one of the best defensive lines in the entire league here with that pick. It'd be so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, I'd hate it, man. Then we get to the Broncos. This is burden for me. Like, I think the running back is fascinating, but again, like it's for me. Am I taking Johnson? I don't think Sean Payton would take Caleb Johnson. I could be wrong easily, but I think he would be more excited getting a guy like Luther Burden in the door at 20 than Caleb Johnson.
Yes, absolutely. I think. And again, they already have kind of the bigger body to X wide receiver with Cortland Sutton. So Luther Burden would complement him very well. All right. Do we go Jackson Dart? Here? Like, if I'm being 100% honest, again, a lot of rumors about Aaron Rodgers and that stuff is starting to pick up at this point. Tomlin came out and said he was fine with Mason at quarterback. He is comfortable with it, which is just the biggest heaping load of BS I've ever heard my entire life. Yeah, we're gonna go Jackson Dart here. I think it'll be fun. Even if they sign Aaron Rodgers, I could still see Jackson Dart sitting behind him coming in the next year, or when Aaron Rodgers inevitably gets injured.
Oh, that physically hurt me clicking that. Ugh. No,
I don't
yeah,
like it. I don't. To be frank, yeah. I'm not. I am not a Jackson Dart in the first round guy. This is kind of just more of a predictive. They have a need at the position. It hasn't been filled. Scouts really do love Jackson Dart, so I'm not the biggest fan of the selection, but it just made a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, I totally get it because you're still waiting on Rodgers. There's a world where you swing and miss on Rodgers. Say he retires. Say Minnesota changes their mind and they want to go after him. Like you're stuck, and you can't go up and get Shador because he's taken at 3. It's too far of a drop for any team to come down, and you're just left with the scraps at the table. And sadly, that's Jackson Dart. But I'm just very fascinated to see how these quarterbacks come off the board because you and I agree, and so many smart people agree, that Dart and Shador they aren't top 5 picks. They aren't even like top 15 picks. But because of the position, they have to go. And then 2022 happens, and only Kenny Pickett goes at around this big, ironically enough, to the Steelers, and not a single one goes in again in the top 70. So I want to see how these guys get drafted personally. Then the Chargers, this sounds easy. Matthew Golden. I think you need juice in the receiver room. I think they re-signed Mike Williams. Other than that, I think it's still Ladd. Just continue to try and get cheap hits at receiver while your quarterback is making a ton of money, and just continue to add to that development of being able to create explosives downfield. And I think Matthew Golden, of the players on the board, gives you that best opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. Again, there's a lot of need, even if you think QJ can make that jump, which he hasn't really shown. He looked fine in the second year, but QJ is not stopping you from taking Golden at this point. So, the Packers. I wanted to go Matthew Golden here. A lot of Packers fans and writers seem to think that they are A-OK with Carrington Valentine's, Kamal Hayden, Keyshawn Nixon, Nate Hobbs at the cornerback position. So this is tough. I wouldn't be shocked if, in actuality, we see them try to trade out of this pick. But it comes down to suitors and all of that stuff. And we're not doing trades, so I won't. Do you mind popping over to the offensive tackle?
Yeah.
And seeing what offensive tackle looks like for me. Because Rashawn is not stopping me from taking an offensive tackle at this point. He was a 7th round pick just a couple of years ago. Or Rashid Walker. He played fine, but he's not amazing. There's not a corner or wide receiver that I really want for them. Oh, gosh. I mean, Jahdae Barron would make sense if Jair Alexander is gone. Yeah, we'll go Jahad Barron. Sorry. At this point, it's just value. He shouldn't be on the board. I honestly forgot about him. I thought he was taken earlier. That's why I was a little shocked that he made it to 23. That's the clear and obvious pick, I think. Even if they are comfortable with a Carrington Valentine's, Nate Hobb, Keyshawn Nixon mix, which I don't know why they would, but yes.
No, I agree with you. I think that, I mean, Jahdae is tough because it's like, it's the same way I loved McDuffie a few years ago. Like, I think he's just going to be nickel exclusive right off the bat. You're going to have to earn the chops to play boundary. And again, like, those guys are just hard to find. position like drafted homes for, and like I agree with you. Jahdae Barron being there at 23 feels wrong, especially as a Texas guy, but it's just the nature of the draft and the value of the positions. But the Vikings, they're interesting because I think they were hoping for Jahdae Barron. I'll be honest with you. Jalen Walker would be fascinating in a Brian Flores defense. You could, dip into the edge rusher market, but you just took Dallas Turner. It's just like you look at the picks for them, and it's like, oh, we get the comp pick from I think Kirk, and then it's just dry. So they really need to make this pick count.
Yeah.
And I think they filled out the line pretty well. I think you could get a wide receiver 3 in Igbuka. You could get man, this one is tough. I think I'm just gonna play to the board.
It's hard.
And take Starks, and because he has the nickel stuff to him. But yeah, I think after the corners kind of go, I feel like I'm reaching on a position for Minnesota because the way they filled out their trenches in free agency, that like I'm not sitting here as we were a few months ago going like Kenneth Grant. Just put in Kenneth Grant, just put in Gray Zabel, put in Derek Harmon. Now, like, it's filled out, and this is Super Bowl time, so it's interesting.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they're a tough team to pick for because there's not a super glaring need for them. And when you're in that position, why not take the best player that's on the board? For the Texans, could you go to interior offensive line? Oh, I don't like it. Willie Lamke at 130 is ridiculous, by the way. I love him, but that's crazy.
The fullback?
Yeah, he's 130 for him. No. I cringed when you mentioned wide receiver for the Vikings because it is a need for them with the way Tank Dell had gotten hurt. There's not really an offensive line here that really stands out to me that I feel the need to pick. So just go out, get CJ another weapon. There's a very safe, high-floor guy here in Emeka Egbuka. Go ahead, pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, I think I did this last week, but it just, again, makes too much sense that we just keep doing it. Egbuka with Stroud, one of his more productive seasons as a collegiate player. But, yeah, I mean, again, I think like we're at a point where it's like it's late in the draft. We're all kind of slurry. Like this is Loveland. I think I've done this before. I don't care if I've done it. McVay was so going to get Brock Bowers last year. Like that was so close to being done. Just remember that last year. Them going up to, I think it was the Penix pick. I think it was 8 to go get Brock Bowers. They don't get him. Mm-hmm. And now you get to drop another guy who compares a lot to Brock Bowers as a receiver at tight end in Loveland. Now he falls to 26. I would not be surprised. I probably said it the last time we did this. I would not be surprised if the Rams just go up to 21 with the Steelers to go get Colston Loveland just to make sure because, Warren goes at 5. It's hard to project where the tight ends go if a guy goes at 5.
Yes, absolutely. Honestly, I was hoping he was going to make it all the way down to 29 for me. That would have been a dream pick at 29. But yeah, he values that position. Again, as you said, he tried to get Brock Bowers. It makes a lot of sense for them. The Ravens. There's not really an edge rusher at this point in the draft. All of them have really been picked through. Guard. You know what? Gray Zabel's still here. Might as well pair Gray Zabel up with Tyler Lindenbaum. and just really make a fun interior of that offensive line. It's a position of need. Gray's should be a first-round pick, but I would not at all be shocked if he was not.
Take Tate Ratledge with one of your comp picks, and we have a deal. But the Lions. Lions, I mean, it's edge, or like they have receiver on here as a need. I don't know about that one, but overall, like Jalen Walker would be fascinating. I think Derek Harmon. They re-signed Levi Uzurike. They have Aleem McNeil, so interior D-line isn't really a must. I don't think they have any like lineman problems. Like, yeah, they lost Kevin Zeitler, so there's a world where you need an interior like a Tyler Booker to just drop in for the playoff run. But again, I think there's guards you can get later in the draft. I think like, again,
it's tough.
This one is tough. This one is tough because the edges go. You know, I feel like the Lions are always set in a place where the edges stay. I think I'm still going to take, like... I'm going to defer to the board and still take Scorton here and hope that him on the opposite side of Hutchinson, who seemingly is going to come back, kind of, you know, adds productivity to him. But again, I think that a playoff team who is vying for a Super Bowl is just going to keep drafting these edges, hoping they get it right one of these times.
Yes, as you said, they're just a hard team to pick for, and when in doubt, just go for the best edge available for them at this point. Good pick. As I said, I was really hoping for Loveland to make it all the way down to 29. That would have been just an absolute dream. But they have went out. They've gotten pieces on the offense. I think we can kind of let the offense now take just a step back. Martin Hampton is a pick we've done. It's a good running back class. I don't think they need to take him at 29 at this point. They need help at cornerback. And I'm going to take my cornerback 3 in yes, Jalen Walker. I'm going to take my cornerback 3. Yeah. In Savone Ravel. Again, he's a tradesy guy. They tried to make the swing for Emmanuel Forbes. Obviously, that crashed and burned in just an awful way. And you're just going to bet on another tradesy guy, and you hope that Dan Quinn can really develop him and maybe turn him into a Trayvon Diggs-esque player.
Yeah, and Buffalo says, give me Derek Harmon and let me escape Green Bay, which is where the draft is held. I think if this team can just sit at 30 and get one of Derek Harmon, Kenneth Grant, Tyleik Williams, I think they're leaving happy the first day. I just think they need size along the interior on that defensive line. Just continue, like, again, Buffalo is just like, it's become boring for them, but it's the same thing. What can we keep tooling to make this Super Bowl run a reality? And so I think getting a penetrator and just with size and length is valuable to put a next to Ed Oliver, not against.
Yes, absolutely. Again, you leave with one of the defensive tackles and you're happy with it. So we made the tackle pick a lot here, and I don't know if I want to do that again. That being said, there's a guy that I had mentioned at 29 for the Commanders. And wouldn't it be fun to just continue to add weapons around Pat Mahomes and, again, just continue to lean into that really, really potent offense? I love Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco is really, really fun. But is Isaiah Pacheco stopping you from taking Amari Hampton here? I don't think so. I think Amari Hampton is an absolute game changer. And Isaiah Pacheco has shown the inability to stay healthy. I would be really upset with this pick. I wouldn't want this pick because I would really want to be rooting for him. But I think Chiefs fans would be really, really happy to see that. And again, I think that he would really add a dimension into that offense that they don't have.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Eagles, I mean, they just go to their pipeline. Did they just take Jalen Walker and just figure it out? I mean, they just keep going to their pipeline. No, but like I think I'm gonna zag a little bit. I feel like I probably haven't done this before, but I'm gonna have him take Connerly as like a developmental path after Lane Johnson and maybe just a swing tackle, because again, like the Eagles are an embarrassment of riches at this point. Like receiver is their biggest need, and it would be receiver 3. Like I don't know where to go with this pick and be smart.
Could I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
A pick that has heavily been linked to them, and it's along the same vein that you were saying with the offensive line. A guy that they had actually brought in for a top 30 visit, Donovan Jackson has been a guy that Howie seems to love. Again, he did a top 30 visit. They really, really like Donovan Jackson. Rumors has it that they really like his ability to step in and be a guard right away, or kick out and be a swing tackle if needed. And again, they really value. I mean, what team doesn't value their top 30 visits? But that is a team that really does value. But that would be my suggestion. But I'd totally be okay with Josh as well.
No, you sold me. Given that, because with the lane extension, it's hard to imagine Connerly getting on the field because he is so slender. Like he's not going to beef up and play guard. Where Jackson, like you said, has the multiple snaps at guard for multiple years. So yeah, I think this makes a ton of sense. Kind of just put it in there, but yeah, again, like the Eagles are tough because I don't know what to do with them.
Neither do I. And I'm the Eagles fan.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, mock draft 4.0.
Yep, 4.0, no trades.
No trades. We'll have to start doing that here because there's 2 more guaranteed mock drafts that you guys will have that Wednesday before the draft. Kind of letting you guys in the kitchen here. That Wednesday before the draft, we're toying with maybe we do it. If we do it, it would definitely probably just be a mock draft episode. But kind of toying with the idea of do we have an episode out that day or not. But you only get 2 more guaranteed from us at least from that. It was a lot of fun. And again, I like that we continue to mix in picks that we have not made already because it can very easily become kind of repetitive.
That's what we got to do. We just got. I feel, and that's the thing too, is you and I are kind of together filling out our collective boards with, players. I don't want to feel like I'm just picking based on who's ranked on the PFF. I'm really taking the guy who I want to take here, and I think we did that multiple times, which is impressive here, especially at 21. But no, overall this was. It's always fun to do mock drafts. I always have fun doing mock drafts. But last thing I say before I go, make sure you check out the TikTok this week. I have some things planned for the TikTok. The Pigskin Project. Is it the whole podcast name or is it Pigskin Pod? I can't remember. But yeah, it is the Pigskin Project. Stay tuned to that. Yeah, stay tuned to that TikTok. It's in the list of all YouTube videos, so if you have trouble finding it, just go to those links. But yeah, stay tuned. I have some stuff planned for there, and I want to start utilizing it more.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun. As always, see you guys the same time next week. And again, if you're in the central Indiana area, best of wishes to you and your surroundings. Hopefully the storm didn't do
Ben
too much of
survived
a
the storm.
damage. I did, despite some technical difficulties. But that being said, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Regional Radio Sports, Uppercuts Grooming, and Spotify for podcasters. And we will see you guys next week.